a lot of people don't have work when they start. But I had the work, and that's what stressed me out. I didn't know what to do now.
Okay. What do you mean?
How do I juggle going to Chase and then getting off work and then going doing this job?
Okay.
And it was at the point very, very fast where I'm like, I can't do both because my name was growing a lot faster than I expected it to.
Welcome back to the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Tyrone, and we help aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs excel to the next level by inviting other aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs on the podcast where they can give some gems and some knowledge on how to excel to the next level. So without further ado, I want to introduce a special guest, Fred Johnson with Honeydew Home Improvement. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. If you don't mind, just give us a brief introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Fred Johnson. I'm with Honeydew Home Improvements. I started a company about 8.5 years ago. We do small punch-out lists, fencing, drywall, painting, a little bit of everything. I've been around carpentry pretty much my whole life.
Okay.
But that's kind of what got me into it. But yeah.
What's a punch-out list?
A punch-out list? So a honeydew list. You heard of that?
Oh, okay.
Like that. That's
Okay.
where I created the name. So if you have a lot of small items around your house that you need to get done, it's always a list, you know.
Right.
You can just give us that list. We'll come knock it out. That's why they call it the punch-out list.
Ah, okay. I was wondering. I'm like, a punch-out list. Okay, that makes sense. That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so what actually inspired you to get into carpentry?
So, like I said, I've always been around it. My all of my uncles are carpenters. My grandfather's a carpenter.
Okay. I never knew that.
They never really did anything on a like high-end business level. It was kind of like, oh, I know a guy, and they will come do some work. But the level of detail and the skill that they had was just amazing. I always admired them for that. And it's when I saw their work, I was like, man, you're so good. And not even trying to say that because you're my family. Just really, really good stuff. And they would be so creative with their work and problem solving. So growing up around that, and then when we were young, we had a smaller house. So it was 5 of us. And then we normally had about 1 or 2 foster kids. So my dad was like, well, we had a basement. We need to put a wall up, make a room. So he was like, put a wall up and make a room. He would go get the material.
Okay.
And my brothers would build walls, and I would sit there and watch. And then by the time I was 7 or 8, I want to try this. So I started building the wall, and, the rest is history.
So
loved it.
You built a wall at 7.
I was about 8 when this happened.
Okay.
In my basement, because they had one up and they tore it down because we had some water damage.
Okay.
And I asked him, like, hey, can I try? And he was like, yeah. He gave me a hammer, a box of nails. He cut everything.
Okay.
But man, I took that hammer, measured out 15 on center.
Okay.
And marked it over, and I put those walls up, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even imagine doing that type of work at 8.
Yeah. I started off with like paneling because it was easier. But I did one wall. I'm like, man, I absolutely love this. I'll never forget that.
Okay.
I loved it.
So you've been in business now for what, 8 years?
Yeah.
Full time, right?
Yep, full time.
So you don't work anywhere else. It's just your business full time.
Yep.
Okay.
Full
Pretty
time.
successful?
I would say so.
Okay.
I would measure it as successful.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's your definition of success?
My definition is being able to hit the goals that I want.
Okay.
A lot of people think that you have to have a certain amount of money or you have to make this much to be successful. But the way I measure it is the level of happiness for my customers. There is a goal that I want to hit. But more importantly, it's just being able to leave a job and really be happy with my work.
Okay.
That's what makes me successful. I'm happy with the work that I do. And when I leave a job or I take a picture of something and post it, I'm like, that's what makes me happy. That's my success right there.
Okay.
Everything else is cake.
So does your wife work?
She does all the administrative side.
Okay.
So she'll do scheduling. She'll take phone calls. She does our advertising. She does 90% of the work.
Okay.
I do
Right.
the 10.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't be anywhere I'm at now without what she does.
So you
for
do the
sure.
fun stuff. She does the hard stuff.
Yeah, she does. You know,
Okay.
she does with everything.
Okay. So let's go backwards, right?
hmm
Before you went full time 8 years ago, what were you doing prior to that?
I was at Chase
Okay.
working. I wasn't really fulfilled. I was just kind of just getting a check. You know,
Okay.
going to work. I wasn't happy. Just something to do. I went to school for carpentry. So
Oh.
I actually ended up going to school in high school. I went to vocational school
Okay.
for 2 years. And after that, I was just kind of. I think what happened was I applied for I think it's called Smoot Construction. They do a lot of highway and construction stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, didn't take it serious. Got distracted with other stuff and started being a kid. You know, I was 18. I got a car and I thought I was the best thing out there.
Absolutely. That's all.
I was at the car wash more than anything. You know.
Right. Right.
But so I ended up doing a couple jobs, and then I ended up at Chase.
Okay.
And then one day, what actually got me to start my own business is my brother-in-law. He said, "What are you doing, man?" He actually has his own business, where he builds decks. He did basements and fences as well at this time. But he was like, "Man, I have so much work. I could just hand you the stuff that I can't handle, and you'll be fine." I'm like, it's not a bad idea. He's like, "You got the skill. I've seen what you did at your own house and stuff." Like, 'cause I would do projects at my house.
Okay.
And I was like, you know, he's right about that. So that was the person that really got me in gear to start my own business.
So did you start before you left Chase, or was
Yes.
this okay?
So I started. I'm thankful for him because he was like, do A, B, and C. Do this, and then just go from there. So I think it was about actually October 2014. When I got my LLC, everything I needed, and I started off on Angie's List.
Okay.
He
So
was
is this the A, B, and C you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, get your LLC, get your insurance and everything, get on Angie's List, and basically the way it worked was you could once your name was out there and you got a review or two, or people could choose you.
Okay.
And then I went through. They had like deals. So I did a deal where it was like 4 hours of work for $99. Everybody ate that thing up.
Oh, yeah,
they
absolutely.
ate it up. 4 hours
Yeah.
for I gotta come do all this stuff.
Right. That punch list.
That punch list, and man, I did that. So I did my first one in December
Okay.
with Angie's List, and I would track it.
Okay.
And at this point, my job at Chase was I would spend a couple hours of serious work, and the rest of the time I had a little bit of time on my hands. So
Okay.
I had a big calendar, and I would sit on that big calendar and look at my emails and schedule time. I would go into work at 6.
Okay.
Get off at 2:30, and I would schedule my 4 hours from 3 to whenever.
Oh wow! So
So
you left work and went
Right to work.
okay.
I went and got me a small little pickup truck.
Okay.
Actually, my wife did. She found one. Was like, here you go. Support me the whole way.
Wow.
And funny about that, my next truck, she called me and said, "Hey, I got you a new truck. Come pick it up." I went up there, pick it up, went right back to work.
Wow. So she really did do the hard work.
Man, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be anywhere without her.
That's good.
But
man.
so I did that. So I had my calendar. I would schedule jobs on that big old calendar. I would try to do one a day. I wanted them to give me like a list of things they wanted done, because I wouldn't just go and do anything.
Okay.
I had to limit certain things. I'm not going to paint your whole house and stuff like that. But that would give me an idea, because sometimes I would try to schedule 2 jobs and work because you didn't have to stay the whole 4 hours if they would let you go. Maybe I could work 3 to 5 and then squeeze in a 5:30 to whenever. Now I would do that. I did that for a couple of months, and that first deal I scheduled probably about 50 or 60 jobs off of that.
Wow.
And every day after work, I would go and do at least one, and then the weekends I would try to get 3 in.
Okay.
On Saturdays and Sundays. So that was my hustle, my sacrifice to get this thing going. But the good thing about it was, thanks to my brother-in-law's advice, I a lot of people don't have work when they start.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the work,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what stressed me out. I didn't know what to do now.
Okay. What do you mean?
How do I juggle going to Chase and then getting off work and then going doing this job?
Okay.
And it was at the point very, very fast where I'm like, I can't do both.
Mm-hmm.
Because my name was growing a lot faster than I expected it to.
Did you have kids at the time?
I had one kid at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
One kid.
How was your kid?
3.
3? Okay.
Yeah. So, juggling that in the mix too, like
Yeah.
trying to be there for him.
Right.
So what happened was, I wasn't expecting that growth, and I was like, something's got to give.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one thing that kind of set me apart from other companies that were on there doing the same thing is they were like, man, you're kind of young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay, that's cool. They're like, oh, you look like this, you look like that. Like I would come, I would change at work. I have an iron shirt, clean pants, and I would actually work the whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take breaks. I need to go, 15 minutes, I'll be back, or, they're going looking for me and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I would work and give it my all.
Okay.
And they noticed that. And then after that, they called me back for more stuff. Now it's my regular rate.
Right.
And one thing that, again, my brother-in-law sat me down and said, he said, get your hourly rate together, what you think you need.
Mm-hmm.
And he broke it down as to expenses. How much does it cost for you to get to this job?
Mm-hmm.
How much does it cost for you to, like right now, I can tell you, in my new truck, it
Right.
takes me $40 to drive around anywhere.
Right.
That's $40
A day?
Yeah.
Whew.
That's $40, and you have to put that into your cost.
Yeah.
I mean, back then it was a little different, but these are things that you don't think about when you're starting your business.
Mm-hmm.
When someone comes up to you and says, hey, I want this wall painted, just one wall painted. Okay, it'll be $150. This random number. They look at you like, man, why is it $150? Or even better yet, you would justify it to yourself that, it only cost me about $30 to paint a wall, so I should charge them $30. It's more to it. You pay for advertising, you pay for the gas, you pay for the tools to get the job done, the cleanup supplies, things like that. That all has to be calculated into your price.
That's good.
So I'm thankful because I was able to set my hourly rates way back then. That has never changed.
Okay.
Some people still say, oh, it's a little too high. Some people say, oh, it's a little cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in my sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But after I did those deals, it justified my hourly rate, and they were willing to pay that because they seen how hard I work and what I can do with the time.
Right.
So that's kind of how it started and kicked off.
All right, so let's take it back just a little bit. When you told your wife, I want to start a business, what was her response?
Okay.
Just that simple. Just okay.
Yep.
All right. So
Go for it.
So with that, right, once it actually started to pick up, because I know you said you didn't really anticipate the volume that you got as far as the number of jobs. When it started to pick up and you were actually out more every day on the weekends, how did you balance your personal life and your business? Because it sounds like you were literally busy every day.
Yeah, and that was hard. Thankfully, it was only for a few months.
Okay.
Because that was from December to March when I left Chase.
Okay.
March 2015.
Okay.
So
just really quick. So December, you started the business.
I started October 2014.
Okay.
Was when I got my LLC and started doing like small jobs.
Okay.
And then March of 2015 is when I left Chase and went full time.
So how did you know that you were at that sweet spot? Like, honey, it's time for me to make that move.
That was hard. I literally had a panic attack at Chase.
Wow.
I was sitting in a little common area, and my phone would not stop ringing with work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's too much. Something has to give. And, I stopped. I prayed about it. And I was like, man, what should I do? She said, do it. That's exactly what she said. She said, do it.
Wow.
I was like, you sure?
Yeah, right.
And I mean, there wasn't a hesitation at all.
Okay.
And looking back, we've had conversations. She was like, "Yeah, I was just kind of, I was nervous, but." I was like, "For real? Like, you serious? You was nervous?" And I was like, "Dang, you pumped me up good.
Right.
You gassed me up good."
Yeah, she.
Um,
Oof.
but then that's when I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do it." Put my 2 weeks in, and then that first day after I left, it was freeing.
Right.
I felt completely different.
So not having like that consistent, and I'm asking this because I want to make it practical for the listeners, right? Because there are a lot of people right now who are trying to figure out how to make that pivot, right? They're working their 9 to 5 job or their full-time job, and they're like, man, I've started my business. It seems to be doing well. I'm ready to take that next step. But then you start thinking about the income's, is it going to be consistent?
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing X amount going to my
Yeah.
bank account every week or every 2 weeks. What is that going to look like? What am I going to do as far as benefits? What about retirement? Especially certain generations think that way.
Yeah.
So it's like, when that question came up in your mind or in your wife's mind, how did you kind of work through that?
So it was definitely something that was in the back of my mind all the time.
Okay.
Because not thankfully, but it's not something that I think about as much now. But the reason is, when I had that calendar and you're scheduling your jobs out, you're a month ahead. You're 2 months ahead. You can kind of see where your next couple of weeks or so are going to be. So it's hard because, like right now, I don't have any jobs in January. What's going to happen? Because you're scheduling that far out. But you have jobs until then, and you keep doing the work.
Okay.
So it's something that you have to get used to. Unfortunately.
Okay.
But it's just different. It's not the normal. You're not going to get a consistent paycheck. I didn't like it at all. I was looking, it's looking kind of scarce next month. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And again, something that I personally prayed about. But there's been times where I actually did an experiment where we didn't have any work coming in. It was like April 20th or something like that. April 20th. We had absolutely no work in May. Not a phone call. It was dry.
Wow.
And I'm like, dang, this is kind of scary. But with your consistency and your work ethic and your name being out there, I'm not saying it's just going to come, but you keep putting forth the effort. You keep going to work every day. If you don't have a job, go out and put some door hangers out. In my instance, your job might not call for that, but whatever it is, invest in advertising, putting into yourself.
Okay.
Betting on yourself. And then sure enough, the next day, the whole month was booked. Literally in one day.
Wow. The whole month?
The whole month of May was booked in one day.
So your phone just ringing off the hook.
Emails, hey, we want this done, we want that done. Okay, cool. It's going to take about 3 days here, 4 days there, smaller jobs, drywall. It just all poured in. And then it was another challenge that I had with, okay, I'm getting too much work. Okay. I was by myself doing the work. That's a lot to do physically. So I said, well, I'm going to scale back. I want to scale back my schedule. I'm not going to stack my jobs as much because at that time I was doing, I did have some hourly jobs, and I would kind of stack them or overlap them a little bit with a rival window. I'm only going to do, instead of 3 a day, I'm going to do 2. Okay. 1 week I had one job for the entire week. And normally I would stack other jobs in there. And it was funny because we were headed out of town that week, and that job canceled.
Okay.
I stacked myself too thin. And now, that one job I was depending on is gone, Thankfully, it was a reschedule, so eventually I still did the job. But what do you do? What do you do? I sat there, again, this is when I had my calendar still. I sat there, I'm looking. My phone rings. Hey, can you come do this? Exact same amount of money for less work. Like,
Okay.
and it happened. So it's really no way of getting used to it until you do it.
Okay.
But I would say that's probably the number one thing that prevents people from taking that step.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing what you're going to make. Oh, because every time you go for a job, you make this much a year,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how much you're going to make. You
Right.
don't know how much you're going to make next week.
Right.
You know, you're not going to be used to it until you do it.
Right.
If that's holding you back,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it.
So this may be, a little cliche. A lot of people use it, but I guess it's pretty much truly trusting the process.
Yeah.
Like if you're confident in what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you've taken that leap of faith and you left the job to say, hey, you know what, there's still work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not physical work to be done, you still have to get out there, show your face, do
Yeah.
the marketing. Now, let me ask you this. Is this true? Sometimes you can get so caught up in the day-to-day that you forget about the other component of the business, which is still putting your name out there, still
Yeah.
advertising.
Definitely. That's I mean, we were just talking about this because now I'm not doing that part of it. I haven't done it for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't have a constant daily reminder of, we need to advertise here, there. But I had to reel myself back in, like, hey, we still need to do some door hangers. We
Mm-hmm.
still need to do flyers. We need to email. We need to do this. We need to set up a schedule
Mm-hmm.
for these things to regularly happen, because your work, your name is going to take you far once you get your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
But you still need to acquire new customers. Word of mouth is great, but you still need to put forth the work that's going to that got you here. You need to keep doing that.
Exactly.
You got to do it.
So what was that turning point in your business where you felt like you can breathe a little bit, as in, man, this is now a well-oiled machine. Obviously, you still had to do the work, but you were no longer concerned about where the next job is going to come from, like all of the pain points that came with it. What was that turning point, and what did it look like?
Well, it's twofold, because I mean, honestly, you always have that in your mind.
Okay.
Like, always.
Okay.
But
So it doesn't really go away.
It doesn't go away.
Okay.
But that's a good thing. It's kind of like I have a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
People say, man, I'm scared of those things. I'm like, I am too.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what? Like, you're scared but you ride? Because as soon as you stop being scared of it,
Mm-hmm.
that's when something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with business. As soon as you get comfortable with it, that's when stuff starts to slack over. Someone else comes and, takes your customers or clients and stuff like that. You don't need to be comfortable in your job.
Right.
So don't try to be comfortable. Always challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Always make sure that you're putting forth your best foot. There was a turning point when my wife joined the business, and she took a lot of that responsibility. It was hard because when my ethic is or my worth ethic is like, I want to give you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm up here hanging drywall or painting, I shouldn't be on the phone answering my next job. So I never answered the phone while I was working, because I felt like that was a disservice to my customers.
Absolutely. I love it.
So when I was able to come home, or I had to come home, return these calls, return these emails, and it was like nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came on board and was able to take that and then give me her ideas
Mm-hmm.
and implement her strategy,
Mm-hmm.
because she has a way better way of thinking than I do, of course. That's when it went to the next level.
So you left your job in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and when did she leave her job?
Let's see. I mean, it's messed up because COVID just takes all the dates out of my head.
Absolutely. Got to skip years.
It was, let's say, 7 years ago. So it was probably about 2017, I want to say.
So, from a
Something
healthcare
like that.
perspective, did she cover the healthcare when you
Mhm.
made that first step?
Yeah. She
Okay.
covered healthcare and everything.
Wow. Okay. And I think, that's critical for a lot of listeners, because I know for me, when I left, as I was telling you earlier, that my wife's concern was healthcare. Okay, well, how are we going to do this? I'm like, well, we're both not leaving our jobs. I'm leaving mine, but you're staying.
Yeah.
And she had never carried the healthcare.
Right.
So it's like, you carry the healthcare and I'll continue the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that's something that, you can dive into as far as personal life. You need to step aside and have a plan for that. Think about that first.
Right.
Whether it's buying private healthcare, having government healthcare, whatever programs there are out there, you have to think about it in a different light.
Okay.
When you have your own business, there are different rates and stuff for you for insurance and stuff like that. So call them, ask them. Like, if I have a company and I think I want to make about this much, what would my plan? Get a quote, because then you can put it into your business expense. Like I said, my hourly rate, my advertising, that's a part of that.
Okay.
That's any other job would do it. I don't want to pick on one company, but if you go to a bank or a grocery store or something like that, they pay their employees health care.
Right.
They're not paying for that out of the air. They pay for it with the services and products that they give you.
Absolutely.
You have to think the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a lot of key challenges. What's one that really just kind of sticks in your mind all the time, like that key challenge you had to overcome since you've had your own business? Or if it's still a challenge.
Well, I would say, like we mentioned, knowing where the next job is going to come from. That's always a challenge. But one thing was for me, ownership.
Okay.
And not in the normal type of way, because you take pride in your work and you do good. But there's some times where you do everything right, and someone might not agree with you. And as a business owner, this is when that saying "the customer's always right"
Okay.
is not true.
Okay. Right.
But the meaning of that is your responsibility to fix it.
Absolutely.
Whether you're right or they're right, it's up to you. I've had experiences where we've done work, we've done exactly as was told, and sometimes there are challenges where people will try to take advantage of you. You have to overcome that.
Okay.
That's definitely something I don't like dealing with, and it's a challenge when I feel so passionately about doing things the right way that when people try to do stuff like that, it really gets you going. But at the end of the day, you have to step back and remove your emotions from it. Hey, let's move on. Let's keep going.
So would you say, like, some of the things you do today in your business, you were able to pull from your corporate job? Like anything, any experience, customer service, any of that?
I would say my experience with other corporate employees
Okay.
has definitely, if anything, that dealing with people, just like the situations I've explained, because even in corporate life, you'll get that email or this, or you can't respond how you want to respond.
Right.
You can't just say, oh, well,
Right.
you were wrong in this point. You can't go back and forth. Someone has to just own it and deal with it and move on.
Okay.
And in dealing with relationships in corporate life, and having that experience has helped me. All of my jobs have been customer facing. So it's a lot easier having that experience, because some people, I never thought about it. Some people can't deal with customers face to face. They don't have that experience. But the easiest thing with that is just be yourself.
Absolutely.
People will hire you for your work, but for who you are. My clients, my customers, I had a customer yesterday. Her and her mom, love them to death. Their dog passed away. And I'm like, man, I'm hurt. I'm like, Bruce died? I know Bruce.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm connected with them, but that's just me being who I am.
Exactly.
So just be who you are, and dealing with people and stuff. But yeah, make those connections, because me being a small company, I'm happy to have these type of relationships with my customers, because it's genuine. I think about them like, oh man, I wonder how they're doing, or so and so, and stuff happens like that. I'm actually hurt. You know what I'm saying? So that that makes a big difference.
So you said a lot of valuable things that set you apart. You know, being personable with your clients, showing up on time,
Yeah.
making sure that you put a lot of effort into your job. You don't leave until the job is done. You put blood, sweat, and tears into it. And there was one other thing you said, not answering your phone, you know, when other clients are calling you, because you want to make sure that you give that job the full attention. What else outside of that, even though that's definitely valuable, would you say sets you apart from all of the other companies out there doing exactly what you do?
For me, it's being honest.
Okay.
Being honest has set me apart in my eyes from other companies. Not that other companies are lying or anything like that, but when someone asks me to do something, hey man, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
I've literally had several customers ask me to do something. I don't know how to do that. Well, I would trust you to pay. I would pay you and trust you to figure it out on my dime.
Wow.
Because I know your work ethic and I know how you think, and I know that goes back to your relationship with your customers. I trust your judgment. So, okay, well, like one customer wanted me to do some landscaping for his corporate company.
Okay.
At a corporate office. I'm like, man, I just do this for fun at my house. It's like, nah, man, I trust you. Go ahead. So we graded some land, put some grass seed and everything down. Did that. There's been instances where someone wants me to put something together or something, like I don't really mess with that normally. And I'm like, oh, come on, I trust you. Or please, like let's work it out, because it's your work ethic and you being honest with them. They know what to expect, and they would rather have you do your best than hire someone else that doesn't know what they're doing. They're going to say, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. And, end up running your bill up or not doing it right because it's a headache. So when you're honest, and, we like to be as truthful as possible, at all times. Like if it's out of your limits, say it's out of your limits. You give the customer the option to, let you do it or trust you to do it.
Right.
And that's one thing that I would tell you today. Like someone asked me to do floors, I'm like, someone told me if you want to last past 40, don't do floors. They looked at me and laughed like, well, it makes sense. I'm like,
why is that?
You're on your hands and knees.
Wow.
Messing you up. Honestly, I did my kitchen floor 2 weeks ago, and for the past 2 weeks, or it was like 2 or 3 weeks, my neck has been messed up just from doing one little floor, because you're on your hands and knees looking like this, and it's not good on you.
Yeah,
and I
know.
talked to a buddy that did floors too, and he said it messed him up too.
Man. So when you have people that come to you, so first of all, let me just comment on the whole knee thing, right? Like, dude, there was a time, I don't know, I can't remember, I was doing something, I don't know, some carpet or something like that, and I had to have like the little knee pads on. Yeah. Man, that's serious.
It's serious, man. And like, if you plan on doing something, that's something to consider too. Whatever you're considered doing,
right?
Like, look at the longevity of it, because
right.
then you need to start, thinking about your exit plan or hiring and stuff like that.
Exit plan.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, how do you plan, for that exit strategy? And it's funny, I wasn't even thinking about it. My wife told me, because she's in finance, she said, you should ask them about their exit strategy, because a lot of people are always concerned about retirement.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like, how do you properly plan for that?
So a lot of people will, depending on your expertise or what field you're getting in, if you're in computers, set up a program that's, you want the residuals.
Okay.
Stuff like that. For me, in my field, you could hire crews, because once your name is established, it kind of goes out there. You can hire crews and, kind of step back,
okay,
and have them take over. And that's when you become like a larger company, which I would, that's a good strategy. It's nothing wrong with becoming larger soon or growing fast. But if you can establish your name and your reputation on your own and then do that, it would be better, because you're kind of out. Your net's already spread out.
Okay.
And it's a lot easier that way versus hiring people and following behind them and fixing problems, because once you get this bad review or that bad review, it's a lot harder to recover from.
Okay.
But exit strategy, just that. Some people invest,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So
Invest in like what, stock or?
I know people that invest in stocks. I know people invest in real estate, um, things like that. Or you can partner with people. And my brother, for instance, he works with me now.
Mm-hmm.
He actually owned a barbershop,
Okay.
and then they did U-Haul rentals out of the location too. Like it's just residual income. Even stuff as small as having an ATM in your barbershop is
Mm-hmm.
going to get you money from that company.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, saving up, there's all kinds of strategies out there. You just have to find what fits you.
That makes sense.
It's not scary. It's,
Right.
it's actually what'll happen is you'll find yourself having more time to think about that,
Mm-hmm.
and plan for that versus going to work and just getting a 401k and then you get a check. But hey, stocks fall, your 401k is gone.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
What's more reliable?
Right.
So
Okay. So just going back for a second, trying to remember what you said. Honesty. So you have some clients that'll say, "Hey, can you do this?" And you're like,
mhm.
"No, I don't have the skill set
Yeah.
for it." Because you built up that rapport and that trust, they're like, "Man, I trust you to do your best job." So at that point, do you try for the first time? Do you subcontract? Do you bring in other experts? Like, how do you work through that?
You can subcontract. I don't subcontract any. Everything I do is me. Like I've had customers say, or new clients to call, like, "Is it Fred going to do the work?" I'm like, yeah, it's me. I'm gonna
Mm.
come out, do the estimate, do the work. I'm gonna be there.
Wow. Okay.
um, it depends on the situation.
Okay.
If it's normally nothing too crazy.
Hmm.
Like someone asked me to do gutters. I'm like, I don't mess with gutters, but they're like, oh, it's just a small run. I know how to do it.
Okay.
It's just not something I do because I want to not limit what I do, but you know, you can only be good at so many things.
Hmm.
And then another thing too, for me personally, is the more you do, the more space you're going to need because you need tools for this, tools for that, specialty tools.
Hmm.
And if there's a company out there that does one specific item,
Hmm.
I'm all for calling that company.
Okay.
If there's a gutter company, you should
Right.
call a gutter company.
Right.
I'm probably the opposite of any other handyman. If there's a plumber, you should call a plumber.
Right.
Like handymen and women are for, small things,
Okay.
knockout lists, things like that. I do specialize in fencing,
Hmm.
but that's just because it's something that I've grown my expertise in. But if it's something that I've had customers I've had for years, and they're just like, I just need this. I'll probably go ahead and do it.
Hmm.
Another thing with that, from a business standpoint too, is if you don't offer a service
Hmm.
and they want you to do that, it's a little bit harder to price it.
Hmm.
Because you may not know the extent of work or labor that's involved in it, so it's kind of hard.
Hmm.
So, like we did a fire pit for someone.
Okay.
I normally don't do landscaping, but I'm like, hey, it seems like a fun opportunity. She was like, "Can you do it?" I'm like, "I normally don't do it," and she said, "Well, just have fun." I'm like, "Okay,"
Right.
but I didn't know how to properly price out, how many bags of rocks do we need for this, circle, stuff like that, border, trim, liner. You don't think about all the small details as a specialist would.
Hmm.
So that's why you kind of want to stay in your lane. But if you have someone that trusts you or they ask you, just be honest with them. Say, "Hey, I don't do that."
Right.
And that's the reasoning behind it, is because you don't know the full extent normally of what it takes to get this job done and then to get it done right. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so when that happens and you're like, okay, hey, I really don't know how to do this. This
Yeah.
job is too big. I don't want to touch it. And they're still kind of pushing, like, no, I
hmm
want you to do it. So at that point, will you try or just completely turn down the job?
If I made the decision not to, I'll do everything I can to try to help them find someone
Okay.
who, it's hard because I only have about 3 or 4 referral companies that I give out
Hmm.
because I know them personally. I've seen their work time and time again.
Hmm.
Before I refer another company, it's going to take me about a year of working with you
Hmm.
before I do that.
Right.
And you have to be consistent
Okay.
because it's your name. But if I choose not to because it's too big of a job or something I just like I think your money will be better well spent with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Then try to find someone, look at the reviews, and say, hey, you can try them out. Let me know how it goes, but I just can't do it. And then when you have that type of rapport with the customer, they'll take they'll take your word for it, and they'll respect it.
Okay. So share a failure or a setback with us, and then what did you do to overcome that setback? Anyone that kind of stands out to you?
There's a few failures that I've had. One that I discussed was like scheduling jobs and stuff like that, becoming too thin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I definitely had to learn as far as how we schedule,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, what jobs we take on.
So what was your strategy? Like, how did you overcome that?
Basically, it's two things you can do.
Okay.
For me, it was look at the job and then start to look at, and this is something that my brother-in-law told me as well. How long does it take you to do, say, a fence job?
Okay.
How much does it cost you every single day to go back to that job?
Mm-hmm.
Look at your efficiency of what you're doing. How can it be better?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that helped me with scheduling was getting the proper equipment.
Okay.
Okay, we have to do a fence. We have to dig holes. Before I got my machinery, it took me. I would get the material and deliver it because I like to pick my own material. I pick every single board for my fence jobs. Every 2x4, I look at it, make sure it's perfect because I want to offer the best product.
So you want to make sure it's not warped or split.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to guarantee my work, so I do that. So one thing that helped me was the last job that we delivered. I would get my trailer, go get the wood, and deliver it. It took me 3.5 hours to unload the wood from my trailer to the backyard.
Wow.
Carrying it back and forth.
By yourself?
It was me and my brother at this point. He came on 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been me and my brother working together. But just us two took us 3.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it's time to, go to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a machine. It's called a dingo. Like a mini loader, you call it. It has forklift attachments.
Okay.
Scoop that baby up.
So what's the difference between like a dingo and a bobcat?
Bobcat's way bigger.
Oh, okay.
Bobcat's bigger. You sit on it.
Okay.
Dingo's kind of like you stand on it.
I've seen one of those.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
And what it has different attachments, just like a Bobcat.
Nice.
Forklift, you can carry 30, 40 2x4s at a time, 20 posts, stuff like that. So it cut my time from 3.5 hours to about 40 minutes.
Man, that's a huge time saving.
Time is money.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you put that into account. That's more time that I can work.
Mm-hmm.
That's more time that I can cut down on a whole day, basically, digging these holes and moving equipment, trash, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you can schedule right. When you get in the groove and you know how long something should take you immediately, and you can schedule jobs, boom, 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 boom. That's what helps you.
Okay.
So I would say, it's not necessarily a failure or setback, but it's just learning.
Okay.
That part of it.
So what's some solid advice that you would give? Again, we want to make sure that our listeners continue to gain value. And you've given a lot of value throughout, this entire interview. I mean, some things that I didn't think about as an entrepreneur myself and other entrepreneurs out there that are trying to get started. They're midway through the process. They're new. They have all of the documentation, but ready to get started. Or they've been in business for as long as you have, or if not longer. What's some advice that you would give them? Just a couple of key points.
I would say find what you really like doing, first of all. Because if you don't like what you're doing, don't do it.
Okay.
Get a few things that you're good at. Get, as efficient as you can with it. And then once you get your clients, set the expectation. Talk to your clients. I see too many people saying, oh, it's going to be magnificent. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. If you have a client and, hey, we got these power lines back here, we're going to have to make a little funky area over here. Tell them that up front, because your honesty will go way longer than anything else you can do. They'll remember you being honest more than anything.
Okay.
Be honest, be upfront, and then always do your best. Give it everything that you have, because that's what's going to make you last. That's what they're going to call you back for and tell other people about you, and stuff like that. So if you're coming into it, don't take too much. Take a little bit at a time. Don't try to say, man, I have to start this company. I need to go get this dingo tomorrow. No, go ahead and lift that stuff up, man. Carry that stuff. Work your way up, because that's an expense that you don't need to have right now. That stuff will come, and then as you progress, speak to other people. Reach out to you. You have great advice, stuff like that. Talk to people. Call me. I don't care. I'll tell you all my failures and everything. Like what was hard. Like I bought a trailer one time. I'm like, man, this ain't it. I need something different. It's a waste of time.
Right.
But just continue to grow. Continue to give it your all. Don't get comfortable at all. Don't get comfortable.
No, man, that's great. Honestly, I love it. So let's talk about trends, right? You have people that we'll start with paint. Remember at one point in time, like back in the day, they had the pinks and the yellows, and then it changed to all white, and then it changed to the grays. Like, how do you stay up to date on trends in terms of techniques? Like some people may want fire pits. At one point in time, fire pits wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Or they might want a certain color privacy fence or whatever the case is. Like I've seen privacy fences where you have the regular picket fence, and then now they have the ones where the kind of, those, right? Like I've seen that here recently. So how do you stay up to date in terms of how to actually do that if you were used to doing another style? Do you take classes or try it out in your own backyard?
If there are classes, take them.
Okay.
If there's something that continuing education, of course. My continuing education is my brother-in-law.
Smart.
He's been in business for over 20 years. Actually, I have a lot of friends that have been in business. They're all older than me, and these are the people that I look up to and I hang out with because, hey, one buddy of mine, he's been power washing for over 20 years. I told him, I said, hey, what's your up and downs? Oh, we do this, we do that. Every job, we put out 20 flyers in the neighborhood. That's a great idea. I took that. We need to do that. Every job we do, put a flyer, get a yard sign, get signage from the fences or whatever, offer discounts for referrals. Excuse me. But as far as like continue, my brother-in-law, it's funny because he would show me little things, and then I remember we were working together, and he's funny. I love him, man. He's more than a brother-in-law. He's a brother.
Okay.
And he said, hey, do this one little thing when you put your fence pickets on. And I did it. I could go about 40% faster than the way I was doing it before.
With one small tweak.
With one small tweak.
Wow.
I could do, so I went from, and you know how much time and money that saved me? Just being able to do, say it would take me 4 jobs to do a fence job. I can get it done in 2 days. And I'm not cutting any corners. I'm not doing, it's just technique, knowing your, how things are going to lay and fall, stuff like that. Getting information from others who've been doing it longer is always going to work, because whatever you're doing, someone else has already done it before.
So 8 years in, you're still learning.
Still learning. Always look to learn. Look for tips and tricks.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with reaching out to other companies. Like, even if you're in the same field, like, there's enough work for everyone. And if you're honest about it, the one thing that I don't like, and a lot of people who put in the effort don't like, is seeing bad jobs. I would rather you go out and do a fence and it look good than the customer call me later and say, hey, my fence is falling over. It was put in 3 months ago.
Right.
I would rather you succeed, because there's enough for everybody,
So let me ask you this. Have you ever considered becoming a consultant? Like, if somebody said, hey, because at some point I'm going to ask you, how do they contact you, the listeners, right? For anybody that wants home improvement. But if someone said, hey, I want to start a home improvement business, I want to specialize in fencing, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to learn. I have the work ethic. and I want to dive out there, can I hire you as a consultant to show me how you do what you do, and I can take it back to my city and do it myself, or train my team to do what you're doing, or bring you in to train their team to do exactly what you're doing because they're adding another piece to their business?
Yeah, I'll be all for it.
Okay.
It's with me, like I said, it's a 2-man crew, and we get more work done than a lot of these big crews because it's your work ethic. And not to go off track,
No.
That's another thing with my brother. Mm-hmm. We came from the same household, and we have the same work ethic. Mm-hmm. We give it all we can, and we don't stop. You know? So finding, if you do have a partner or someone that's working with you, find someone like that. You don't ever want to pick up their slack unless they're sick. You know what I'm saying? And they need it.
Exactly.
But I don't have to worry about, I need to hurry up and get to this job site because nothing's going to get done. I can trust him to do what he needs to do. But yeah, I've never considered consulting or anything like that, but I'll completely be open for it. Because there's a lot, not to go down this the rabbit hole.
No, go for it. Go for it.
People hire people who don't have the exact tactics, and what that does is it causes a callback, which is a bad experience for the customer. But what it really does is it wastes material, and fencing, in my case particular.
Yeah.
So it drives up prices.
Makes sense.
Because then there's a shortage.
Right.
It created, for instance, these fence panels. I don't like them. They made these panels so everyone thinks they can just go and put it up, which, okay. But
I think I've seen those in Lowe's. And
yeah. But 4 or 5 years, they start to rot away because they don't use the same quality material. And
like treated material?
They use treated, but a lot of them they cut the 2x4s in half. And you don't notice until you're putting it up. You can't go slope down hills and the curves and stuff like that. Okay. But it just creates a shortage in the material, drives up prices. When if everyone would do it, right the first time, and it'd be a lot better for everybody. That's why I say I'm not mad at sharing or anything like that. Let's all get it done right, because then that'll save prices and resources. Okay. Because I've gone to a lot of jobs where I have to just knock down stuff. I have pictures. There's a job that I went to. It was put up. A fence was put up a month before I came.
So knocking down someone else's work.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I can't reuse it.
Okay.
I can't reuse it. Because then I'm qualifying or warranting their work if I reuse anything they have. But this particular job, they had sticks on the back of the fence, holding the fence up. They leaned the fence on the sticks. They had no intentions on it. Man. I have the pictures. They had no intentions of this fence staying up.
So did the client not see that?
No, because it was on the back side of the property. It was an elderly lady. Right. So, and it was on the back side, so she wouldn't have even been.
So it must have been like a wooded area or something where no one would see. Okay.
But and it's just a lot of material wasted, know. And it's sad because I think they were from out of town. They flew in, did it, and flew out. But yeah, I would love to eventually get into something like that because I love what I do, and if I can share with someone. Hey, do it like this, like my brother-in-law did for me. It would make things go a lot easier, in my perspective. So
if someone wanted to hire you as a consultant, hire you to come out, and handle the punch-out list, how would they contact you?
614-736-0924. Okay. You can Google us, honeydewhi.com. We have a website. Okay. Facebook, Instagram, all that is all the same.
All right. We'll make sure we put that down in the description. Yep. Okay. What about social media?
Same thing. HoneyDewHI on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, perfect.
It has all our links on there.
Any other value you want to add before we come to a close?
Keep listening to Tyrone, man.
Oh, no. Listen to Fred. Yeah. All right. Well, we want to thank you for joining the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast, where we help aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs excel to the next level. And we do that by inviting other aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast to give other value, to give their perspective, to tell you how they overcame their challenges and some other golden nuggets. We'll see you next time.